Hello, my name is Resilan Bearcat, and this is my first playthrough for the Rise of the Darkfog expansion for Dyson Sphere Program. Welcome back to my tutorial series on Dyson Sphere Program. Now today we're going to be taking a look at a blueprint. I want you to look at something here. Look at this blueprint right here. I'm working on a mid-game blueprint. Now there's several things you need to consider when you're talking about mid-game blueprints. Number one is this is a point in the game where you don't have unlimited power. Power is at a premium, so you want to be able to build the blueprint in different stages to do different amounts. So you want it to be easily extendable and some of the things that you can do. So I've laid out an initial blueprint here. I got started in this blueprint. Was intending to do 4, but when I put the third one in, I got to noticing a problem with this blueprint. You'll notice that some of these things aren't running. These 3 are running, but these 3 over here are not running except occasionally. And that's because they're full. And if I take out this blueprint, we can just sit here and take out the items that are in there. You can just see it just clicks up, clicks up, clicks up. It's not outputting anything. You can see the output not going in here. Now, there's a reason for this, and it's based on math, as you probably guessed. This is a factory builder. Math is kind of the thing. But you'll see here that this thing outputs 2 per second. So what I've got is I've got 6 constructors in a row. They produce 12, and I got 6 per row here, and I'm dumping them both onto a 12 per second belt. Well, that's not going to work. And so what we're going to try to do is redesign this. And just so, of course, what I really want here is I want a facility here that is actually capable of producing, well, if I've got 12 per second, that would be 48 per second. And then I can scale this thing and have 24 per second or 48 per second, or I could even cut off half of it and actually have 6 per second and then kind of expand from there. And so, but I want the facility to work all the way out to 48 per second with these 12 per second belts. So this design isn't going to work, so every one of these needs to be on its own belt structure. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to just go ahead in here and basically rip all that out. Now the reason I do all this in sandbox mode, there is a reason for sandbox mode, is that in here in sandbox mode there's a special tools. You can click the amount, you can unlock this, you can lock it, which is full, or you can click the lock again, which keeps it at half amount, and it doesn't matter how many inputs and outputs come in, it'll run forever. That's extremely useful when you're designing a blueprint and you want to actually see what happens. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get started back on this. We are going to have the center belt will be the input. I want to be able to monitor this thing eventually, so we do want our center belt to be the input. And so this will be kind of the design of this coming in here. And then we are going to keep the concept we had before of the outputs. So I'm going to put my iron there, and we're going to put iron here. And that's going to be our iron coming out. Now with that, what we've got to do is the key to this is going to be that each output has to have its own belt that it runs out on. That's going to be the key in this kind of a situation. So what we'll do is we'll come right here, we'll place down 6 of these here, and we'll put 6 of them right there. So each one of these needs its own output belt. So let's do this right here. Let's bring in a belt of copper, and we're going to need 12 here because I'm going to put another row below this and pull 2 things off of this belt. But now I'm going to come here, and this is going to be an output, and I'm going to run it further out here to indicate that to myself that it's an output. And we'll do the same thing right there on that line. That's also an output belt that we want to hook up. Now what I'm going to do here now is, with this in place, let's go ahead and hook all the belts up for these 2 things. And let's think about our sorters and how much we do. Now this sorter does 1 trip per second if it's 1 square, 0.75 if it's 2, and 0.5 if it's 3. And then this is 1, and this is 3 per second if it's 1, 1.5 if it's 2, and only 1 if it's 3 away. So this, and then this belt is of course faster. So we don't have to deal with the math on that. But what we'll do here is that the first thing we need is 2 iron per second. This blueprint, if I come in here, we put in circuit boards. Circuit boards requires 2 iron per second. So I can't use the sorter. Now, some people will just use the top end sorter as the best sorter they have available to avoid this, but I like to make this to where it's the correct amount. So I know that I'm going to need that in on both belts. And I actually did this belt wrong. This is going to be my copper coming out of there. And let's see, that needs to end right there. Just thinking about this, when I start putting the belts in here, it becomes obvious that I have something that's incorrect. So now this is coming in at 1 per second and then outputting at 2 per second. Now I could make things a little bit easier for myself if I was to reverse the order of these and put this on the inside. And let's go ahead and do that. Actually, so I do want to do this because it's outputting 2 per second as well. So I can save myself. So I do want to do that right there. We're going to reverse this. So these are the things that you think about, the outputs and inputs. You want the things that are higher output volume or higher input volume to be closer to the machine because that will make things easier. All right, now then, we're going to bring this down through here. That'll be my copper. This will also be my copper coming down through here. Okay. Now with that, I'm going to need an additional row of iron to feed this. So we're going to bring the iron out here. And I'm going to bring the iron on this line right here. And I'll show you what we're going to do here. So this will be iron as well. And now, okay, there we go. We'll bring the others in a second. So this one brings in, I can use a green sorter now for this. And I can use, I'm going to need a green sorter for this as well, because if I, let's just actually do this as this. So what we'll do is well, let's put our output. Our output is a green sorter. And then we'll do a yellow sorter, just so that we can see this. Now, when I put the yellow sorter in, what you see here is that that's only 0.75, and it needs 1 per second. And so that's another way to see it. You can kind of see the thing going in there. So that'll be a green sorter. So I think we've done this with green sorters. So we'll do the outputs over here as well. We want to drop this out and take that in. So the symmetry. Of course, I did it the other way, and now I'm going to be picky since I'm designing a blueprint. If I was actually in the playthrough, I wouldn't even worry about that. But I will do it here, so for the symmetry, since I'm going to actually save this blueprint and then share it. All right, now that we've got those things in there, we can actually come in here and do this right here. We're going to, these are going to be circuit boards. And I could copy and paste that blueprint into there. All right, so now that's the first line in there. Now I'll come back in here later and do the, let's go ahead and put my power poles in here. And we'll put some down here right on the very end, right there. All right, that just gets it put in there. And that'll start making a few items. That's fine. We're not concerned with it right now. What we want to do is just grab one of these that doesn't have anything in it, this right here. And then we're going to put another output belt here. So the output belt is just coming on down here to indicate that this is an output belt. There we go. Now we're going to do the same thing again here with this. We're going to hook this up. So we're going to take, that takes one in there, and a green in there, and then a green out here. And that's good. Now we'll copy and paste the blueprint in there. So it starts building a few things, and we're good with that. And then we're going to do the same. We're going to take this, copy this, then we hit the tilde key to get rid of the connectors, because we don't want the connectors. That brings the blueprint with it. Very good. Now we need to hook this one up. So we want this one right here in the middle. It helps if you spin it around. Then we want this to come over here. And then we need our output belt here. And this is the design that we're going to have down through here. That's good. There we go. I don't know what happened there. I must have missed something. We've got the output belt there, and then we want an output there. So now we've got the blueprint here, and what we can do is we can just now copy. So we just control click to copy, and we just copy and paste our blueprint down there. We drop it on top of the first one, hit the tab key to space it over the way we want it. We'll do the same thing here. Got 6 there. 6 there. Now we've got all of that in there. Now we'll have a few things that aren't making due to power, and we'll just grab some power poles and stick them in here like this. Now then, we've got a good portion of this is now building all the items. So we've got building coming in, and we've got 4 different output lines, and they are going to be full. They literally, if we were to run them into a tower down here, you would see that they are completely full. So now what we're going to do is take something that is available to us in the mid-game once we get to building things. Might not be available at the beginning. So I've got a couple of different options here, and it is very much an option in my mind. You can take, one of the things you can do is now we could just take another interstellar logistics or even a planetary logistics if I wanted to do that. I could put this right here and then just run the items into here, and that would be a viable manner of combining this. And so you could call this blueprint done here and then just run it in, run these 12 belts. They would be 12 each into another facility. But I'm not going to do that because I'm at a stage in the game where I do have available to me, I don't have a lot of them, but I do have automatic pilers. And so the automatic pilers, it provides an opportunity. The other thing that you could do, and you could think about, is if you're starting out in the game, you know, one of the things that you could do here, and it would be very easy to do, is you could create a facility that makes both. You could drop down one of these blueprints, and you could have two of these belts creating, or even one of the belts creating circuit boards, and one of them doing magnetic coils. It's the same blueprint, magnetic coils and blueprint. This is magnetic coils up here. This is the circuit boards. Other than the inputs, it is the same blueprint. It's the same ratio. So that's a good thing to note. It creates 2 every second, and it has 1 2 input item and 1 1 input item. If we come here, you'll notice that is identical. It has 2 items. So I could add one more thing to this particular building, magnets, and then I've got everything that I would need, and I could just change the 2 of these lines here to be magnets, and then change the blueprints in 2 of them, and I would have magnets and circuit boards. Be very easy to do that when I get to where I'm going and combine all the things in. Now what we're going to do here is I'm going to cut this back, and we're going to use our piler, and I'll show you what the piler does. So these are running at 12 per second. They'll be coming out at 12 per second. Well, I can't put 12 per second on a 12 I can't put more than 12 per second on a belt unless I have one of these pilers. And I can take these pilers or put them in here on each one of these things. And then what we'll see is if we come in here, we'll connect these in here. Now I've got every one of these belts that's running. Let's put the tower down here so that we can actually see this. We'll put this down here. Of course, it will be in the way. And what we'll do, I don't even need power for it. We only need one of these belts to kind of show what this is doing. We'll put that into there. And we'll put this as circuit boards. And we'll go ahead and lock it so it doesn't fill up. Now you'll notice, let's get this thing running. And if we come in here, you'll notice that I've got 2s and 1s. It'll sort itself out here in a minute and be running very strong. And putting the items in here, just stacking them up. It'll stack them up and run all of the items in here. So this is outputting 2 per second, 2 per second, 2 per second. So the total here is outputting 12 per second. And we're bringing in the iron, bringing in the copper. Now the copper belt is bringing 12 per second, but it's feeding 2 lines. So that's why we have the inputs coming in the way we do. And you can see it is stacking these things up. And I don't seem to have a full belt here for some reason. I should have a full belt entering this thing. What have I done incorrectly? It's ending. And these run at 100% efficiency, so you can actually make them at it makes the items. And with these items down here, we come down here and we look, they're stacked. And I'm seeing 2s and 1s, 2s and 1s, but they're all stacked up. So there's two on top of each other is what they're doing. So this thing is stacking them up, putting them on top of each other, and going out there into the thing. Whereas if I don't have one of these, here, put that in there, and then we'll just control click to empty these things. Alright, so they're all empty and producing these things out of here. And we'll, you know, it's filling in, running these things in here, and getting all the information that's going in. So this is the blueprint basically that's coming down in here. We've got all of the things feeding. This is running that. Oh, I see what the problem is. I don't have insufficient power. Okay, let's see here. I've got a fix for that. Let's see. This is the nice thing about this particular thing, the sandbox mode, is you can do things. I'll make some of these. I've run out of my power source over here. That should fix that. There we go. I should have sufficient power now. Okay, very good. I was wondering what was going on there. But that's the advantage here. Okay, awesome. Now we can see it. See how this thing is full coming in here? And we see this is filling in here. It's getting full, and it now should be producing and filling in down through here. Everything, we should see everything running at 100%. Okay, we'll let that run for a second, and we'll see that it's filling in here, getting all this done. Now, if we look at this right here, you can see there's two of them on top of each other. See that? And they're perfectly spaced stacks of two. I mean, that's what we're looking for. We want those stacks of two coming in like that, because that's what we're going to be doing to produce this thing. So we're going to take this, cut this right here. We're going to come back to here, cut this. We don't need those lines anymore. Let's get rid of this thing. All right, there we go. Now we've got tons of circuit boards in our inventory. We hit control click on an item to pick them all up, and hit delete to delete them, and then just erase them. We don't need that stuff. We're in sandbox mode. We don't care. So, okay. So what we're going to do here is we are going to come in here and put the piler in right where it's at right there. We're going to let's put this piler in here now and run this in here. And then what we're going to do, let's take that out. Okay. Now then, let's take another piler, and we're going to turn this in and put it right here. We'll put one in there. We're going to reverse that and put that in there. You want the slanted side kind of to the way that you want it to stack up. Now what we're going to do is take these belts of 12 and put them right in there. Because once it comes out of here and I combine those, that'll be two belts that are stacked 2 high. And this piler is then going to stack them 4 high. That's the idea. And then what we do is we take the results of that into a splitter. We combine that there and that there. Now we have 4 lines of 12 coming into into this belt here, and we're running 48 per second down this belt, down this 12 per second belt. They're stacked up. If you look there, they are stacked 4 high, and it's a steady stream of 4 items per going in there. And that is how you get more than 12 on a 12 per second belt. If they're stacked, it can carry 24, 30, or 48. Now I'm not sure how you could get it to carry 36. It can carry 36, but it won't. I don't know how the stacking it. So all of this stuff going in there, this is all filled in, and these things should not be filling up, although this one is filling up. So why is this one filling up? That means it's not emptying fast enough. And that might be an issue. This one is emptying fast enough. This one, let's see if I empty these things, if they continue to build up. Now sometimes I have seen this to where it just doesn't have enough time to fill in the gaps that are coming in, and that's what's happening here. And so what I end up doing here, and I've seen this before, is I'll put that belt right there as a blue, put that one as a blue, and this is just so that it has enough time And you'll notice now it's filling in solid, and that just, it needs the faster belt down here at the end because the spacing of them when they get down here is just problematic, and that's where you run into it. It's not that it's the blueprint doesn't work; it actually does. But and I have seen this before. It doesn't have enough time to output them if you don't have the the faster belt down here. So it actually helps on the last two or three of these if you upgrade these here, and it just makes things work smoother. We'll upgrade those belts, and we'll upgrade those belts as well. That should make things output smoother and make sure that it gets everything onto the belt so that there's more gaps in it. This is fast enough to output the items, but when you get down here, you just get into a little bit more of an issue. So this is it's outputting all of the items. If I pull this out, we should see that it's not building up here. Yeah, and it indeed. So it goes up to 4. You'll notice how it gets up to 4, and then it fills in the gaps. It just has to do with the timing of things. So it backs up if you don't have the faster belt, so it can fill in all the gaps. There we go. We have designed a blueprint for our items that take 2 in and out, or take 2 inputs and produce 2 per second on the output. So I know that there's several things that use this particular ratio, and this will be my blueprint for coming in here. Now to finish this blueprint off, let's put one last thing in here. Let's actually put the traffic monitor right here, and what we want to do is put that in there like that. And the traffic monitor, the way you set this, the way I like to set these is I want this thing to go for 60 seconds. And we want an item filter here of circuit boards. I want what I'm trafficking to be greater than a certain amount. Now I'm expecting 48 per second to come down through there, and I want to produce some number less than that on this particular thing. So if I'm actually doing 48 per second, that would actually be 1440 per minute per each 12. So I can do 4 times that amount. So I think I can actually safely set this to be 4800. And if it drops below that, I kind of want to know that. Let's see, we'll go up here to 4800. The actual number that it's doing is more than that, I believe. We'll see what it's doing when the monitor gets all the way to the minute. And then what I want to do is a global alarm when fail and no cargo. So if it's blocked up and not running just because there's stuff sitting in the way, then I don't care about that. And we'll put an alarm icon of the tag icon in here. Now it is showing 2800. I did my math. I was a little bit wrong on that. So it's 2880 is the number that I have coming in. So what we want to do is set this to be 2400. There we go. Oops. I had it on 2400 momentarily. There we go. So I want 2400 cargoes. I want it less than that. If I'm running a little bit low because of resources, just timing of resources not coming in, and then you can play with where you set this. But this right here now is a passing monitor. I've got things coming through here, and everything is working fine. And then we can see if I cut this right here, the monitor, it's not doing anything. It'll drop below. It won't alarm even when it drops below the 2400. It's dropped below 2400 and it's turned red so that you can see that it's red, but there's no alarm up here. And that's what I'm looking for. Is I don't want the alarm up here if it's just not running because it's backed up. And that's fine. That condition is fine. So we'll put that back in here. Let that run. The counter will go back to it'll click back up here. We've got the 1500. It takes about a minute for it to resolve. But it will resolve, and this is just something I can use. And I like to have in these particular, once I get to this point of the game and I'm starting to scale up a factory planet, I like to put in a traffic monitor on these items. That's part of why I like to have a single item coming back in. These things take power. I'm still not at a point where I have tons and tons of power, and so I mean these things have power consumption, various other things. So I'm trying to be efficient with power and be able to scale this blueprint up. Now I can I can reduce and cut half of these things off of this blueprint. I can have these 4 belts run all the way back in, circle back into the back. I don't have to use the pilers. So there's a number of ways I can reconfigure this without having to change the basic structure of the blueprint. I've got 4 lines coming in. I've got 3 in the back and 2 on each side. I've got room for 5 lines to put in there. So I could run all 4 lines back into the tower, as well as run a proliferation out if I wanted to proliferate the items. Now, if I had a limited supply of iron or copper, I might choose to proliferate this item. In this case, though, I've got a lot of copper and iron, so it's actually good. All right, I hope you enjoyed this, guys. This is the way I build and test blueprints and make sure they're working before I actually produce the blueprint. Final step here, we will actually turn this into our blueprint. We'll take this right here. I will make this one of my blueprints, and this will actually go into my mid-game blueprints. I'll probably move it later. This is really, in this configuration, it's not really an end-game or a mid-game blueprint. So what I will do here is take this and do this will be, let's see, this is circuit board 48. So capable of producing 48 per second. So there's my circuit board 48 per second. We'll put the circuit board icon on it. I am going to change this icon up and do 2, 3 here. And so I'm going to let myself know that I need the pilers. And in fact, I think I'll go to the 3, 2. Oops. Let's do 3, 3. And do I've got the piler and the traffic monitor. So it just lets me know that that is in this blueprint. And then I generally tell it what it requires. So this particular thing is going to require, I have 48 per second iron ingots and 24 per second copper ingots. So that's my blueprint. And I can save that. And now we've got a blueprint here for building circuit boards. I have the circuit board thing here. I had one I have done earlier that's a little bit different, that had some proliferation in it. These in the mid game, I'm not proliferating things, unless it's absolutely necessary. But in the later game, in late game, I generally add proliferation to all of them. But this can be extended. Now when I've got the blue belts, or got a good supply of blue belts, I can upgrade this, and I can double this again out here on my inputs. Actually, I can double, I can double and then take half of this yet again, and basically the whole blueprint works. So I can extend this thing out to produce 120 per second is what it would produce, and it very easily just copy and paste some items in there and convert the belts to blue, and everything's good to go. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. That is all for today's video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the like button and leave a comment to let me know what you think. Please subscribe to the channel to be notified when new content is available, and check out the link shown here for more gameplay. Take care.